together, get something going as a collective. I'll say this to Kujo this morning. If not, this is just like a, it's kind of like a club. Well, it's a nation, right? So we have to have certain national principles. We have to have certain national, what I would say are, what do you call them? Hold on, there's a word for it. Guideposts.
Guidelines?
Not guidelines. Certain. Well, obligation is definitely in there, but just standards. Geography. You have to have some land, your nation. You have to have a government, your nation. You have to have, any number of things. To me, we're struggling to get to some of those things. This guy's talking to a girlfriend, Japanese. I realized that he doesn't really look Japanese. Huge sort of sex thing that goes on with girls and Filipinos out there, that's it. And there ain't that, they've been used to making $2 an hour and $5 an hour and shit like that, so they're out there. But he's speaking to her in fluent Japanese in there. But I noticed that he can get on a plane, sovereign home, and be able to walk the streets probably unmolested, no molested. Yeah. By his countrymen. We don't have that, right? We don't have it's the American currency. We definitely could own that. So now what the deal is, then really what it is that we've been overthrown. Yeah. So maybe it's not so difficult. It's not really about building anything. Just like taking back. Taking back your city. That's what it is. It's about taking back.
And you take back in.
So maybe now, you know what? That fills me with a little confidence now. Because that means it's not as difficult. Really, it's already here.
Yeah, of course it's already here.
All right. Took me a little time.
Yes. Got it.
All right. So
let's get this out, boys.
You guys look like it's news to you too. The only one who sees the title is Cujo. These guys didn't even know they're still unsure. I'm just happy I'm happy. Let's go. All right.
This out, boys. That's right. Father on the left, two on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Peace.
Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector. My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. His holy prophet. Noble Juali. Islam. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors, ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their cardon button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the Prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Drew Ali, Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me, so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam. This is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you would be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but would sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemy, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temple. Act accordingly, and Allah would bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam. Islam, Moors. I don't think I opened that. Just a reminder, keep in mind our Noble Drew Ali Day coming up, January 8th, 2022. And it's going to be online, as well as we have the lotto for temple attendance. All the people who have their emails submitted from making payments thus far, you're on the list, so we got you. You'll be sent. We're sending out the link on the day of, probably the morning of. We'll send out the link to everybody who's going to be in attendance online. The next week, 19th, we're going to be doing our solstice walk, our winter solstice walk. Do you think are we going to do the indoor thing again, or we're going to do the indoor again,
Yeah.
or it's still?
Well, I think so, right?
Yeah. What if it's like this?
Definitely outside, right?
So yeah, we'll keep you posted on where, but that's going to be next week. Email will be sent out in the week with regard to that. You want to talk about the donation, the raffle?
So that's the map of Asia, pretty much, yeah. I don't know the date, but it's something interesting. Different apparatus and all that. Name of certain places in Florida, Peru, such and such.
So that's for Drew Ali Day. So being being that we have been engaging with the Muslims, um, been going through the Quran stuff. There's some stuff that I found in the Quran that I wanted to put out to the Moors just to get the Moors' perspective on what they get from from verses here.
Do you want to put that, do you want to do that or something?
Um,
So you want to get it? No, I don't do that. Relevant to last time.
this is before we do that, we just want to give honors to 12-12 day.
Oh, 12.
Yeah, give honors to 12-12. Honors to 12-12 day. That
Would we honor 12-13 as well then, or?
Huh?
We honor 12-13 as well, or?
well, it's the double number. It's the double number ritual.
What about 12 and the 13 in between the 5 and the whole nature around that?
Yeah, I guess. It could go anyway. The spiritual meaning of 12-12. The number 12-12 has a specific meaning as it relates to your spiritual path. It holds the energy of 1 and 2, as well as its base number is 6. This is an angel number with a lot of love, compassion, and support with it. This number is a sign of encouragement in difficult times. Spiritual journeys are always worthwhile, but rarely easy. The number 1212 is a reminder that your guardian angels and spirit guides are an ever present well of compassion and love. They are here to support you through every phase of your spiritual path from the beginning to the end. Should this number appear alongside positive omens and lots of angel signs, then your angels and guides are here to help you through a new beginning. If you have a project in mind that you've been hesitant to start, now is the time to do it. The number 2 is all about cooperation, balance, and harmony. And 6 is the number of the heart. You have more support than you realize and are always surrounded by love. If the opposite is true, then your angels and guides want to warn you. You may have been giving too much of your love away and not reserving any compassion for yourself. The spirits around you want you to know that you deserve love and harmony just as much as anyone else. During this cycle, don't forget to take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. Islam. So we just want to put out a couple verses of the Quran here, and
Sounded very pained.
huh?
You sound kind of pained. Promises made, I guess.
Yeah, you gotta read from this, right? Because this is
it.
this is it. Um, 2:21. Do not marry women who associate partners with God until they believe. A believing bondwoman is better than a woman who associates partners with God, however pleasing she may appear to you. Nor give believing women in marriage to men who associate partners with God till they have believed. A believing bondman is certainly better than a man who associates partners with God, even though he may please you. Such people call you to hellfire, but God calls you to paradise and to forgiveness. He makes his messages clear to the people so they might bear them in mind. They ask you about menstruation. Say it is an impurity. So keep away from women during it, and do not approach them until they are cleansed. When they are cleansed, you may approach them as God has ordained. God loves those who turn to him in penitence, and he loves those who keep themselves clean. Your wives are your fields. Go then into your fields as you will. Send ahead some good for yourselves, and fear God, and know that you shall meet him. Give good tidings to the believers. And what everybody's there.
No. I mean, I like the whole, it's good, right?
Well, I was watching, to touch on that, from my perspective, I was watching a Dr. Lee lecture, and he was mentioning that when you put a limit, because God is limitless, right?
Mhm.
He's infinite. When you put, like circumscribe him and put, you say, oh, God only has favorites, because they just mentioned that God loves clean people. Then you just put a limit on God, or Allah,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So then therefore, you just, made him limited. So that's my whole perspective on that.
Well, I don't know, you're saying what, because he's God loves clean people, he's limiting it?
No, because they're saying stay away from the woman on the menstrual cycle, right?
Well, you didn't know that?
No, well, where it's being said is kind of, putting fear.
So anyway.
Yeah.
But I think that's where I see I see that this doctrine here is one of trying to, I think, keep people very, 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 very controlled.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. And once you control with a certain, I guess with, this would be like the religious control, and then they have the, educational control and the different aspects of trying to stop you from being where you're supposed to be at. But this is supposed to be something that's saving people. This
no,
is
but you know
supposed to be.
what? So, well, hold on, I think, I see this analogous to what I was reading out before.
Mm-mm. Oh, you want to go? You want to do it?
Go with
Oh,
that.
okay.
Oh, yeah, we go, if you, I mean, I don't know where it is, just the whole fact of, I'll just,
But we could do it as, as a
Yeah, no, I think
comparison,
for sure.
a comparison.
also what you've read, I guess.
Yeah.
at this point, or because it's relative, right, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always relative.
Yeah.
This is opening because of 7 sages, 7 days, where he says, so I mean, to me it is analogous to in Greece it is rudderless. For every thought may be a god to worship as Allah. The plane of thought is broad, full of sharp antagonists. So the circle of the gods is filled with enmity, with war and base intrigues. Greece needs a mastermind to stand above the gods, to raise the mind of men away from many gods to Allah the One. So to me, wasn't that the book that was given by Muhammad?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that would be the mastermind.
Yeah.
Giving them the book back to Allah. Right? But analogous in the same way to the Hebrew prophets, seers and givers of the law, were men of power, men of holy thought, and they bequeathed to us a system of love that was ideal, one strong enough to lead our people to the goal of perfectness. It's the same message, just to a different set of people, right?
Yeah.
With the same mastermind, giving them the same, or giving them a guidebook relative to where they're at. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I see that Koran, and that's where then I think we were talking earlier about whether we related some of it. I think we were talking about there were sheep and there's shepherds, right? In certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe some of this stuff is relative to certain people will have different challenges. Maybe taking the word in is one, so they have to have a certain system.
Yeah.
This is for you guys. This is the system, because if you don't have this system,
It's a lot more.
Hey, Kudo, you see what's crazy, eh? Noir seems to be getting the emails, but just not the rest of you
I know,
guys.
I know.
It's all right, guys. It's all right, boys. That's all right.
Well, that's crazy. I looked at the.
I don't know. You have one, right? You got one, right?
Yeah.
You got one, right? Ready? You got one, right? Yeah.
I don't know what email.
Hold on. Where's the, put in the fine. Put in the fine.
You're a fine man,
No worries, sister. We're just getting you caught up on that shit. Lock the door over there, Noir. We're gonna shoot. So that's where I was seeing that when you were reading that whole passage there, what that's relative to, right? Which is just basically what the basic thing is. There's a methodology to get beyond where we need to get to. There are 1,000, maybe there's 1,000,000 ways to get there, but you got to take one of those ways. That's what that seems to me analogous to. Or maybe there aren't 1,000,000 ways. Maybe there's 15 ways. You got to take one of those 15 ways. I would maybe see it more analogous to that. The message was given to us. That's what we do with the message. That's where I think the nationality perspective behind it allows one to then find the message best suited for you or for your people, right? We right now are in a place where we're taking someone else is giving us what they say is the way to Allah, which isn't the way to Allah.
You know, that might be the way to Allah for them.
Absolutely.
Right.
Which is what we were talking about then again earlier about the nature of what they're about.
Yeah. Always.
So, yeah, as I keep saying, I feel like I'm at, what's the next step? But we may need to continue to sort of hammer in the details, I guess.
Any other thoughts on that verse? Yeah, I'm looking for.
Said it was better to marry a slave to believe in your religion than someone who didn't.
Nor give believing women in marriage to men who associate partners with God until they have believed. A believing bondman is certainly better than a man who associates partners with God, even though he may please you. Such people call you to hellfire, but God calls you to paradise and to forgiveness.
Says God.
Hmm?
Does he say Allah?
Yeah, it says God. Yeah. I don't know if that makes a difference.
I have a thought, but it's premature because I'm still learning about the moon, its cycles, and this kind of thing. So I'm a little nervous to speak on women and menstruation in regards to the moon. But as a woman, I understand that that time of the month is a very powerful month.
Month
So,
or time?
time rather, thank you. And so it triggers me a bit when I hear this thing about stay away from women when they're on that, during that time of month, because it's as if it's a scorn, you know, but it's just a natural part of life.
Would you think that's patriarchal thought then?
Right.
That's a male dominating sort of thought to
Right.
take you away from whatever science is that time brings as far as relative to the moon and astrologically and all that. Yeah.
Right, right. So I think it just, yeah, it's the patriarchy, and it's so unfortunate because living that way, it hurts us rather than helps us as a nation. So,
Mm.
yeah, that works.
Islam.
What I need to let the ladies know is that from little girl, pure, no period, no nothing, innocent, pure, great goddess coming up to teenager. That's one, like one phase of life they go through. So innocent. And then it's like 3 stages. That stage is now when you get to the teenager, then the period starts. That's another stages now.
Mhm.
And like you said, the period work with the cycle of the moon. And that's the real 28 days that makes the month. Not the 30 and 31. Good. Because the woman is connected with the moon, and the days, like the weeks of the month. Then from there, they have babies, get married, whatever goes on, raise their children, and then it goes up to where they call menopause, where they don't see that period anymore.
Right.
This is the stage where the woman should be the wisest time in her life,
Right.
smartest time. So those are the stages that they go through, which is all good. So there's nothing for you to feel bad about. But because of all the teachers,
Yeah,
make you want to think.
the indoctrination.
The
Yeah.
indoctrination.
Yeah.
But that's a real thing. You guys have come to real power here. That's what I need to let the girls or the babies know. And still, some of them get to that stage and still about stupid and dumb.
Sure.
When they should be the wisest time, because they could tell what it's like without a period, never see a period, what a period like, babies, and then no more period, no more babies, and I'm up here now. They should be able to tell everything. So they should be the wisest time when they get there.
Now that you're mentioning that, I wonder, how do they treat women that are in menopause now? Do they still, what's the order of operation in that way now? As Muslims, like what do they do with women who are no longer menstruating? Are they still?
Yeah, no, like the city used to say at the time you have to stay away. No, they don't. What they're gonna do, I don't know, but it's a good question. It's a good question. Because if you go deeper, way back in the beginning of time with the Rome and the Pope and the whatever, they used to want to examine the woman because they said the devil did something there. Yeah, they want to examine all the women because they said they have the devil here or something like that. That's when they're breaking away from, with the patriarch and the matriarch system. Yeah, that's the root of where it's coming from. Those Romans popes wanted to, way back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wanted to say,
Oh, go ahead,
in
Mark.
response just to that other passage, I think that sometimes the most obvious answer isn't always it. I think that, well, actually, maybe I'll just retract that because I'm thinking that maybe there is a certain goodness for you guys to, at that point, be separated out of that. This isn't really a bad thing, but what's bad is everything else around it. Because maybe that is when your energies are being at their most pure, and you need to be sort of probably isolated from all the other, not in a way of saying that. It's more, it's like
A way of
retreat.
like-
You need to go off to, because at this point, this is the point where you're gonna start casting some spells.
Yeah,
You don't want
You don't want the
whatever. So-
spells around.
Right, so
Yeah.
what I'm saying, they put a masculine connotation on it from the perspective that, because really it's about, because at that point too, is maybe when you are at your most like, okay, you know what? I know who I need to go mate with. Right? That's what that's really about, right? Because they say that at that time too, from what I've understood too, around those times, that's when sometimes certain energies are most percolating. within a person around the menstruating time, because that was obviously done physiologically for you to create the baby. Right? You have to be in the mood to then want to create the baby. Right? So those things are what comes out of that.
The egg is really ready.
Right? But that's where in the creation of these dogma, they know that the aspect of the marriage thing, which is being locked to someone, even though that's not the person that you're supposed to be with, is part of where they're controlling you. They're controlling your energies. If you know this, right? It's like Hancock. I know there's that one person out there in the world. That's my significant other that I have to meet. But instead, what happens is you get fucking locked off with the worst guy. So what's going to come out of that is not, right? We're all maybe supposed to, as an example, have that happening. That's my person, you know what I mean? They're going green. You're like, I got that person. Instead, you're locked in, whatever. I think that's where it harkens back to those old arts where the family did all they referred to the
natal charts.
And said, okay, this is, they at least tried, right?
Yeah.
But that's why I say with that, I think that's done more from the perspective to lock you away with the other women. That's what happens, especially because we already know culturally that's what's happening.
Yeah,
and
you do whatever ritual.
So when you're in there, you're just commiserating and creating more of that because it's like this whole prayer thing about the affirmation thing.
Yeah.
You're now amongst everyone, and rather than having that freedom to go that 360 or that 360 sphere thing to go, I'm going to go this way, that way. No, you're locked into waiting until the end of the week until your man can then come back at you or something, right? I don't know. That was just my thought on the whole thing. Because when you read it, you realize that now that your mind is open, so much of it are these instructions that
there's no way it's not.
And then I was just thinking about this today. How come it seems that all of these things? So we have this Muhammad. He gave us the book. Well, where is he now? Well, he's gone. Where's Allah? Allah's here. How come Allah's not updated some shit? It is God, right?
Yeah.
How come the shit's almost 200 years old?
Yeah.
How come there's never anything modern?
Yeah. Well, that's where Drali comes in, and him being the modern.
But that's why they're not talking about it anymore, though, right?
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. Go ahead, brother.
That's why Joel said you gotta think now, because I can't tell you everything.
Exactly.
Tell you everything, you'll fall asleep. So you gotta start thinking, and then you will see all the rest of this stuff. But it stops us from thinking. The food doesn't help us to think anymore.
Yeah.
The cross, mixed breed doesn't make us think anymore.
Yeah.
All kind of things happen to us while we lost our way.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, if they leave us alone, we'll be so pure living our lives today.
Yeah.
And it has to go back to that. Whichever way it's gonna take, however how many 100 years it's gonna take, it has to go back to that. Yeah.
The problem is that at a certain point it became so toxic, we forgot that really we can overcome that because we are the spirit. Even all that food stuff, I was talking
Yeah,
about.
but again, you gotta remember, our blood is crossed with an animal sort of a gene blood.
We were talking about that earlier, yes, go on.
So
What
that
about it?
in you, it changed things in you.
Yeah.
It makes you get angry for your own brother when you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because of that animal shit in you got too much in you. Why you behave like that. But I'm saying, it's like even the Bible tell you, everyone feed on their own vine and fig tree. When so-called black people start to go back to only black to black, and we go back to you go right back to the real pure people that we are. Real pure creation that we started out with.
Yes, but brother, I think
There's so many things that happen that change your. Now they want to put vaccine to change the DNA again, to change it again. Good, because they know people are waking up, and this is not this is information time now.
I hear you on that one, but I think one of the most important information is, and Cujo always reminds, I don't know if it's inside, that this is not of the flesh.
No,
We're getting caught up in the flesh.
but it's the flesh we're working with, bro. We can't leave the flesh.
As an avatar.
And if your flesh not working right, your spiritual power will never flow.
I don't agree. It is like being in a car that's not, it's my perception of it, you can have yours, I'm just putting mine out there, is that I'm in a vehicle right now that's not running correctly. But at a point I can stop, get out of that vehicle, and get into another vehicle working properly. So I am not the vehicle. That's what I'm saying to you. So I hear you, but we are all given the ascension. Remember, read it, the very chapter. We are basically just vibratory level. We are vibrating at a slower level. Which means ultimately, when we get back to vibrating, which is that mental part, all of this stuff falls away.
I understand that, Omar, but again,
You get caught up with the
No,
thinking is gonna keep you from it, right? That's what you're saying, right?
No, because they themselves speak on it. Like, you did not have sickness
No,
until
they
they
come
come
here.
out.
I don't know what you're talking, but,
What do you-
okay, so what is that?
Sickness and disease did not exist to
You
you.
never exist.
So now that it does,
It
now
was
what?
yesterday I was talking to my
No,
sister.
I'm trying to make you understand here. When the Black Plague was going on, and all this stuff was going on, nothing was going on over here.
I don't know, okay, what do you mean by that?
Like, all the plagues that were hitting
Fair enough. Okay,
Asia.
but
I can tell you one experience. In my village where I grew up, on my town, I never hear nobody have cancer. Never. My life, I'm talking. Up to, going up to teenager, way up. One lady, Miss Gata, tall lady, good build. I heard Miss Gata have cancer. Not even a week after Miss Gata get maga like a stick. I'm a little boy and I said, I think if they never tell Miss Gata she would live and stay like the way she was until she died. And the time Miss Gata hear that she have cancer, she died. She don't last long. And I think it's mentally she start getting messed up.
Yeah.
That's what happened. If they never tell her, I think she should.
Once they tell you,
Yeah,
something happens if you go with it.
good.
It's like,
Something happens in
it's
your
like,
being.
so
Yes.
if they're the lower self,
And hold on, let me finish. And then now, with her, that's the only person in my life. Now, my friend died. Oh, 40. What? Cancer, huh? No, you know what I'm talking about. 40-year-old dead by cancer. And like I said, this woman may be 70 something, 80 years old. You know, first time I hear about somebody died from cancer. After the baby born with cancer, now, if you don't mind. They're probably born with it now. What causes that? What causes that? Think, what causes that? Mutated gene, mutated blood, all kind of messed up. That's what causes all these things. And like you said, you could catch up back on what you were saying. Before they come in, we never had those problems. Never had those problems.
food you're eating is fine.
Lifestyle too, so there's less dis-ease in the mind, because.
Even rice. Rice is one thorough meal in Jamaica. I know. My mother told me when rice started to come to Jamaica, when the boat come to my, because there's a wharf in my area, St. Anne's Bay. When the boat comes, people go work on it to unload the rice. People go and gather around. When rice bursts, they give them for free. People go get rice. But we never have rice down here. Never have none. They see what we down here now. Plastic rice they give them. What do you expect? What do you expect?
You have to pull in the door.
Plastic rice they give them now. So if those are not the problem, I don't know what it is. But those are part of the problem.
So as long as those giving them money.
If you don't feed your body with the right food, your
Should be
food
here.
is not going to develop right, the children not going to develop right, and they won't be able to come be someone, no matter what spirituality they have.
Buy a mic for us.
That
Talking crazy.
fleshly thing, if it's not properly put together, it can't even handle the spirituality that it has.
Peace more. Everything else.
Who told you ham was good?
Hmm?
Who told you ham was good?
Yeah.
I was watching a documentary once, and in this rural village somewhere in, I think it's East Africa, when the women are on their time of the month, they are told to go to this hut until the time is finished, because the belief is that when they're around, the livestock, the cows will die out. So this is the kind of thinking that triggers me, whereby it's like a scornful energy that they're putting around that time of the month.
Mm.
You see? So I don't know if it's patriarch again, it just might be, but this is the thing. You know, it goes without saying not to be with your woman during her time of the month, right? So, but that's not where I'm going with this. It's just more of an energy thing, I feel.
Yeah.
You're missing out.
Missing out on some,
something.
yeah, something there. And I mean, and that could be an intuitive thing.
Mhm.
That it's something with that, like they're saying, the women are gonna come together, and at that time they will do whatever it is that they're gonna do
Mhm.
with the energy,
Right.
because it's only you that have it. Nobody else, the other species doesn't really have a say to know
Mhm.
what, we know from, like you're saying, from the negative side of it.
Mhm.
We know that, oh well, when she's on her, she's gonna be mad, and she's gonna be, and she had that, when that might not really be the primal thing
Right.
of it. There might be something else there that
And
that
the
we
thing
need
is,
to
you're
tap
right,
into.
because the thing is, there is something that's there that's very important, but we only focus on the miserable grumpy woman at that time.
Mhm.
And that makes us lose whatever else is there, like you say.
Mhm.
You just say they are like that this time or whatever. But probably there is something good going on there too, if you're there and hear and see, pay attention, and not just caught up on, oh, that's how they are now at this time. Listen to them good all this time what they are like. Even record it and then replay it again and
Exactly.
do the maths and see what's going on. How they behave that time and how they behave the other times. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that misery has a lot to do with like diet and lifestyle too, because I know once I change certain things about myself, I realize that time of the month is not painful, not as heavy.
Mhm.
The PMS is next to none. So it's just a matter of a change of lifestyle and
My sister told me
kind
that.
of thing. And then
My
we'll
sister
be more
told
in
me.
line with whatever gifts we get that are magnified during that time of month. But until then.
She said, sure, because once I put her on the knowledge of the food thing on with Dr. Sebi and everything, and since she go on it, I love her to talk to all the women there.
Yeah,
Because she gives them raw.
big chin.
Yeah, and she tell them raw. She will tell them if you smell it's because of them food you stink. Stop eating those. She don't play. She don't go around it. Because she do it for herself and she see what happens. She see what happens. If she change her diet. Strictly alkaline food. 'Cause we just watch, work with nature.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to nature. Don't pay attention to no. In other words, you don't even have to read a book. Just work with nature and see what happens.
The nature be your
You
best
learn
friend.
everything that you're supposed to know.
Right.
Everything. Just like you remember way back when our people coming over here. They know when the wind is going west. Go on the boat this day and it will take you straight there. We don't have to do nothing. Basically. So they know. They know when it's time to, okay, we're gonna go west and the wind gonna start the 23rd of December, so we set our sail and ready. When the wind start, they start.
You start, yeah.
Navigate over here with no headache.
Yeah.
They will know what time it is.
And they know when the wind turn the other way to go back, they know what time to choose to go back. And
Yeah.
that was it. And it doesn't matter what time, how long it takes. Because time to them is like illusion.
Mm.
Doesn't matter what time we get there. We're working with nature now. Nature taking us there. Good.
Um, 434. Men are protectors of women because God has made some of them excel others, and because they spend their wealth on them. So virtuous women are obedient and guard in the husband's absence what God would have them guard. As for those from whom you apprehend infidelity, admonish them, then refuse to share their beds, and finally hit them. Then, if they obey you, take no further action against them, for God is high and great. If you fear any breach between a man and his wife, appoint one arbiter from his family and one arbiter from her family. If they both want to set things right, God will bring about a reconciliation between them. He is all knowing and all aware. And then that one came from this um, Selena somebody, um, some Islamic women's rights activist that is going from the perspective that, you know, just like you're saying, this whole thing has women not being respected like nature, women being put on the side, women being put at the back, women being put, but not having her own place to have certain things that, you know, when they look at other cultures, they see women have that. But then the thing with the negative, like you were talking about, is that the things they're seeing is the negative stuff of society that they make women do, and then use the book to justify. Well, we don't want you to be like the infidels over there. So the book says, you know, if you get out of line, we could tap you one time, even if it's a light, you know, just so you know that we have that power to do whatever, you know. Um, but um, a big women's movement dealing with all this stuff of you know, not women not having an equal footing like that in Islam, and the only when they make the connection to women and whatever, it's only the three women in here, and that's it. Everybody else, the standard is to be like this. Think Fatima, somebody else, and somebody else, and that's it. Who gets the supreme honors that all women should get? Only those three get it. You know? Oh yeah.
No, let's get to this.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that?
As a man, or a young man or a male, we already said, from growing up, mom, mother, even after breast milk, mom stopped nursing, then mom starts the period again. I'm still on the mom, guys, with her. Oh, they never take us away from her that time when her period come. How? And now because you're a man now, oh, you know. Where's my food? That is our work on me and mom holiday.
Like you get all your energy from the moon, and you don't want to run that time period. It's kind of hard. Maybe because they know maybe she could influence you into doing something.
Mm.
That big little patriarch don't want, you know?
65, 3. and God will provide for him from an unexpected source. God suffices for anyone who puts his trust in him. God will surely bring about what he decrees. He has set a measure for all things. In the case of those of your wives who have passed the age of menstruation, if you have any doubt, know that their waiting period is 3 months, and that will apply likewise to those who have not yet menstruated. The period, the waiting period for those who are pregnant will be until they deliver their burden, give birth. God makes things easy for those who are mindful of him. Such is the commandment which God has revealed to you. Any thoughts? Because if Nora was talking about earlier about um, the stages,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then there's a stage when the menstruation starts, and then they're talking about wives before menstruation. If they're talking about wives before menstruation,
Mm-hmm.
then obviously that's pedophilia.
No, I think he meant in relative to the time and the month, don't you think?
But it shouldn't be a wife before you're not seeing period yet.
No, what is it?
In the case of those of your wives who have passed the age of menstruation,
Those would be the people that, are in menopause.
Mm-hmm.
Those of them who have passed the ability to menstruate.
past the age of menstruation.
Right.
Okay.
So you're past the older one.
So this is the,
If
okay,
you-
so this,
The wiser one.
If you have any doubt, know that their waiting period is 3 months, and that will apply likewise to those who have not yet menstruated.
so what is that time period they're talking about? Before and after, they're saying 3 months before they menstruated, and 3 months before they started to menstruate, and 3 months
After
is
they
what?
can't menstruate
No, no.
anymore.
Is what? What are they saying that period is? That's when they're supposed to be. Well, I don't see how you'd be able to know 3 months before they menstruated.
It's not 3 months before. It's
So read it again.
after the menopause, it's only 3 months before the menopause. In other words, maybe 3 months time they still have a. So it's on to me.
So 3 months time to stop.
Yeah.
I don't know, I want to read it again for me to understand.
Let's go back some more.
But one second before you go back. The last part now ties you back to the one that never menstruated. The last statement that you, last part of it, it brings you back. So in other words, those one are the same as the one that never started yet. Are in the same
Categories.
Read it again.
We'll go back more. O prophet, when any of you divorce your wives, divorce them during their period of purity and calculate the period carefully. Be mindful of God your Lord. Do not drive them out of their homes, nor should they themselves leave unless they become openly guilty of immoral conduct. These are the bounds set by God. He who transgresses God's bounds wrongs his own soul. You never know after that. God may well bring about some new situation, and when their waiting term is ended, either keep them honorably or part with them in honor. Call to witness 2 reliable men from among you and bear true witness for God. This is an admonishment for those who believe in God and the last day. To those who fear God, he will grant a way out of his difficulties, and God will provide for him from an unexpected source. God suffices for anyone who puts his trust in him. God will surely bring about what he decrees. He has set a measure for all things. In the case of those of your wives who have passed the age of menstruation, if you have any doubt, know that their waiting period is 3 months, and that will apply likewise to those who have not yet menstruated. The waiting period of those who are pregnant will be until they deliver their burden, give birth. God makes things easy for those who are mindful of Him. Such is the commandment which God has revealed to you. He who fears God shall be forgiven his sins and richly rewarded. Let the women who are undergoing a waiting period live in the same manner as you live yourselves in accordance with your means, and do not harass them in order to make their lives difficult. If they are pregnant, maintain them until they give birth. If they suckle your infants, pay them for it. Discuss things among yourselves in all decency. If you cannot bear with each other, let another woman suckle for you. Let the man of means spend in accordance with his means, and let him whose resources are restricted spend in accordance with what God has given him. God does not burden any person with more than he has given him. God will soon bring out an ease after hardship. How many a town rebelled against the commandments of its Lord and his messengers, and we called them sternly to account and punished them severely. So they tasted the evil consequences of their conduct, and the result of their conduct was ruin. God has prepared a severe punishment for them. So fear God, O men of understanding, who have believed. God has sent down to you a reminder and a messenger who conveys to you God's clear messages, so that he might lead those who believe and do good deeds out of darkness into light. God will admit those who believe in him and do good deeds into gardens with rivers flowing through them, where they will remain forever. God has indeed made excellent provision for them. It is God who created the seven heavens and the same number of earths. His commandment descends among them, so that you may know that God has power over all things, and that he encompasses all things with his knowledge. Now, one thing is that chapter is supposed to be about divorce.
Okay, I'm not sure what was the context
Yeah.
about
So
the months and this.
yeah. But even in that context, stuff is still all over the place.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they do marry off pre-adolescent with women, so it would make sense that they brought up that portion there.
We were reading earlier. This is chapter 9. Chapter 9 in the red book. If you have your red books. Opening address of Yahushua with the seven sages, 7 days silence. Ashbina said, Assyria is the land of doubt, the chariot of my people, that in which they mostly ride is labeled doubt. Once Faith walked in Babylon, and she was bright and fair, but she was clothed in such white robes that men became afraid of her. And every wheel began to turn, and doubt made war on her and drove her from the land, and she came back no more. In form, man worships Allah, the One. In heart, they are not sure that Allah exists. Faith worships at the temple of one not seen, but doubt must see her God. The greatest needs of all Assyria is faith, a faith that seasons everything that is with certainty. And then Apollo said, the greatest needs of Greece are true conceptions of Allah the One. In Greece, it is rudderless, for every thought may be a god to worship as Allah. The plane of thought is broad and full of sharp antagonists, and so the circle of the gods is filled with enmity, with wars and base intrigues. Greece needs a mastermind to stand above the gods, to raise the mind of men away from many gods to Allah the One. We know the light is coming over the hills. Allah speed the light. Matheno said, "Behold, this land of Egypt of the dead. Our temples long have been the tombs of hidden things of time. Our temple crypts and caves are dark. In light there is no secret thing. The sun reveals all hidden truth. There are no mysteries in Allah. Behold the rising sun. His beams are entering every door. Yes, every crevice of the mystic crypts of Mizraim. We hail the light. All Egypt craves the light." And Philo said, "The need of Hebrew thought and life is liberty." The Hebrew prophets, seers, and givers of law were men of power, men of holy thought, and they bequeathed to us a system of love that was ideal, one strong enough to lead our people to the goal of perfectedness. But carnal minds repudiated this law of love, and filled the minds with selfishness, and purity in heart became a myth. The people were enslaved. But when he comes who is to come, he will proclaim emancipation for the slaves. My people will be free. Behold, for Allah has made incarnate wisdom, love, and light, which he called Emmanuel. To him is given the key to open up the dawn. And here as man he walked with us. And then the council chamber door was opened, and the Logos stood amongst the sages of the world. Again, the sages sat in silence 7 days. Islam. Any thoughts on that?
I think when we talked about, it's just another iteration of the guidebook and what we have to do.
Mhm.
He's kind of tried to make it personal to each of those different groups. That if he's also giving you certain code words, certain places to look to find the answers yourself, right?
Mhm. Just wanted to put out the metaphysical meaning of silence. Silence, state of consciousness entered into for the purpose of putting man in touch with divine mind, so that the soul may listen to the still small voice. When one goes into the silence, he enters the secret place of the Most High, the closet of prayer within. He closes the door, and in the stillness of the meeting place, he prays to God. He communes with God, and he meditates on the truth. Then he listens to what God has to say to him. And Rennie had made the reference earlier um, about them saying God and everything. So just check what that is. Metaphysical meaning of God. God, the Almighty One, the Creator, the ruler of the universe, the infinite, the eternal. God is not person but principle. He is the underlying, unchangeable truth, to whom, with whom can be no variation, neither shadow that casts by turning. God is principle, is absolute good expressed in all creation. When men know God and will worship him in spirit and truth, they recognize him as the great goodness, omnipresent omniscient, and omnipotent. God is personal to us when we recognize Him within us as our indwelling life, intelligence, love, and power. There is a difference between a personal God and God personal to us. Since the word personal sometimes leads to misunderstanding, it would probably be better to speak of God individualized in man rather than God personal to man. When we identify ourselves with Him, he when we identify ourselves with Him as our indwelling Father, he seems he seems to us to be personal. However, it is not in a personal sense, but in the universal identification of ourselves with Him that we come into God consciousness. The personal is limited. The universal or God consciousness is unlimited. God is that from which all love springs. His character is taught in the name Father, representing the love, protection, and providing care of God for man, his offspring. He is life and love, and wisdom and power and strength and substance. We do not see God with our physical eyes, except as manifesting himself through his work. Attributes are therefore brought into expression by man, who is his son and who is like him in essence. If we would make ourselves channels through which he came forth into expression and manifestation, we must endeavor to raise our thought and feeling to God level. Um, a metaphysical meaning of doubt, unsettled state of opinion concerning the reality of the truth of something. Doubt is the Satan of every man. Doubt is the root of weakness, mental and physical. If men had faith in themselves, in the ability of spirit within them, they would become giants where they are but pygmies. Ashbina said, Assyria is the land of doubt, the chariot of my people, that in which they mostly ride is labeled doubt. Chariot in which they ride. Metaphysical meaning of chariots represents the body activities. Once Faith walked in Babylon, and she was bright and fair, but she was clothed in such white robes that men became afraid of her. And every wheel began to turn, and doubt made war on her and drove her from the land, and she came back no more. The form man worships Allah. In form, man worships Allah the One. In heart, they are not sure what they're not sure that Allah exists. And then Drew Ali's teaching that we're in the heart that we could meet Allah there. That's where you meet Allah. Right? Faith worships at the temple of one not seen, but doubt must see her God. Doubt must see her God. So with our engagements with people, anybody who talks about God that they see, they they um, um, they present God as other than within. It's something outside. You already know that they're in doubt land, right? They're in the land of doubt. They make the land of doubt exist because faith even worships at the temple where the temple that's not seen. So if the temple is not seen with this reference, then any type of reference that they say of temple is supposed to be looked at as an unseen place, right? Um, the greatest needs of all Assyria is faith, a faith that seasons everything that is with certainty. Let's see if faith has in. See if faith has a metaphysical. Faith. So this is the greatest needs of Assyria. Metaphysical meaning of faith. The perceived power of the mind, linked with the power to shape substance. Spiritual assurance, the power to do the seemingly impossible. It is a magnetic power that draws onto us our heart's desire from the invisible spiritual substance. Faith is a deep inner knowing that that which is sought is already ours for the taking. A close analysis shows that faith is the foundation of all that man does. Jesus spoke of a new condition for the upliftment of the race. He called it the kingdom of the heavens. He said it must be built upon the foundation typified by Peter, which represents faith. This is proof that faith is closely related to the enduring, firm yielding forms of substance. The development of the faith faculty is a key to spiritual realization. Faith in God is the substance of existence. To have faith in God is to have faith of God. We must have faith in God as our Father and source of all good that we desire. Faith is more than mere belief. It is the very substance that which is believed. It works by love. Thoughts of condemnation, enmity, and resistance must be released and divine love declared, then faith will work unhindered. Faith working in spiritual substance accomplishes all things. This is the faith that cooperates with creative law. When faith is exercised deep in spiritual consciousness, it finds its abode. And under divine law, without variation of disappointment, it brings results that are seemingly miraculous. And then Apollo said, the greatest needs of Greece are the true conceptions of Allah the One. In Greece, it is rudderless for every thought. May he be, may he be God to worship as Allah. The plane of thought is broad and full of sharp antagonists. And so the circle of gods is filled with enmity, with wars, and base intrigues. Greece needs a mastermind to stand above the gods, to raise the minds of men away from many gods to Allah the One. And you know, again, going back to the mastermind and all the different prophets bringing the same message that the people need to return to love. The people need to get the truth. If they don't get the truth, they're gonna perish, whatever. Um, and the idea that all the different all the different bodies of the races have gotten to this place where they were in darkness and they needed light. And our representation of that is with Drew Ali bringing us our light. Right. Because of that faith reference, we'll just read chapter 16. Chapter 16 in the Red Book. Yahshua passes the third brotherhood test. Faith. The Logos waited 7 days and then was taken to the Hall of Fame, a chamber rich in furnishings and lighted up with gold and silver lamps. The colors of the colors of it is ceiling decorations. Furnished furnishing and walls were blue and gold. Its shelves were filled with books of masterminds. The paintings and the statues were the works of highest art. And Yehoshua was entranced with all this elegance and these manifests of thought. He read the sacred books and sought the meaning of the symbols and the hieroglyphs. And when he was absorbed in deepest thought, a priest approached and said, "Behold the glory of this place. My brother, you are blessed. Few men of earth so young have reached such heights of fame. Now, if you do not waste your life in search of hidden things that man can never comprehend, you may be founder of a school of thought that will assure your endless fame. For your philosophy is deeper far than that of Plato, and your teachings please the common people more than those of Socrates. Why seek for mystic light within these antiquated dens? Go forth and walk with men, and they will honor you. And after all these weird initiations may be myths, and your Messiah hopes but illusions of the hour, I would advise you to renounce certain things and choose the course that leads to certain fame." And thus the priest, a demon in disguise, sang siren songs of unbelief. And Yosha meditated long and well on what he said. The conflict was a bitter one, for king ambition is a sturdy foe to fight. For 40 days the higher wrestled with the lower self, and then the fight was on. Faith rose triumphant. Unbelief was not. Ambition covered up his face and fled away. And Joshua said, "The wealth, the honor, and the fame of earth are but the baubles of the hour. When this short span of earthly life has been measured out, man's bursting bubbles will be buried with his bones. Yes, what what mad the what mad does this for his selfish self, while what man does for his selfish self will make no markings on the credit side of life. The good that man for other men shall do becomes a ladder strong, on which the soul may climb to wealth and power and fame of Allah's own kind that cannot pass away. Give me the poverty of men, the consciousness of duty done in love, the approbation of Allah, and I will be content." And he lifted up his eyes to heaven and said, "My Father Allah, I thank thee for this hour. I ask not for the glory of myself. I fain would be keeper of the temple's gate and serve my brother man." Again, as Yahshua called to stand before the Hierophant, again no word was said, but in the hands of the master placed a scroll on which was written faith. And Joshua bowed his head in humble thanks and went his way. Islam. Looking for mastermind, that ain't in there. Metaphysical meaning of thought. Thought, a product of thinking, a mental vibration or impulse. Each thought is an identity that has a central ego around which all its elements revolve. Thoughts are capable of expressing themselves. Every thought clothes itself in a life form according to the character given to it by the thinker. The form is simply the conclusion of the thought. One of the axiomatic truths of metaphysics is that thoughts are things, that the mind of man marshals its faculties, and literally makes into living entities the thoughts that it entertains, is also foregone conclusion. The word things express poorly the active and very vital character of the thoughts to which the mind gives life, substance, and intelligence. We see many inanimate things around us as the material world. If we compare our creative thoughts with them, we get an inferior conception of the marvelous ability of our mind in its creative capacity. Thought is controlled by the right use of affirmation and denial, by the power of the mind to accept and reject. This power of the mind is the I am, and it is through the avenue of expression, I am, that thought, control, dominion, and mastery are obtained. Thoughts are controlled by the mind through its power to say yes or no. To hold a thought is to affirm or deny a certain proposition both mentally and audibly until the logic of the mind is satisfied and spiritual realization is attained. Right? And Yosha was entranced with all the elegance and these manifests of thought. He read the sacred books and sought the meaning of the symbols and the hieroglyphs. And when he was absorbed in deepest thought, a priest approached and said, right, so when he was absorbed in deepest thought, when he was at the place of using the right affirmation and um, the power of the mind being activated, here comes the thing to try to throw you off of the concentration. Here comes the priest. Let's see what that is. Metaphysical meaning of priest. Priests, metaphysically, ideals of priestly authority and the religious guidance of the intellect. The priests and Levites represent our so called natural religious tendencies. These officiate in the rites and ceremonies of the tent or tabernacle, and when the more permanent structure temple is built, they bring up all the holy vessels from the tent or tabernacle.
Was our priest,
That's a priest.
so called.
Yeah. So the priest approached and said, behold the glory of this place. My brother, you are blessed. Few men of earth so young have reached such heights of fame. Right? And the priest being, you know, he's only the one that does the rites and ceremonies. Do you having conversations with people? Obviously, this is not a priest. Obviously, this is some entity in disguise during the deep thought of the meditation that a thought of his, this is the priest. The priest is a thought of himself in the tabernacle of the mind that's coming in to divert the attention. Right? Well, not only divert the attention, but that's to reel them in first. So making the self feel important for being in this place. That self created this place. The thought, the ceiling decorations, furnishings, walls were blue and gold. All that is of the thought. That's him manifested the reality, right?
So they say man is mind, literally, like
Right, yeah, like literally, man is mind.
find yourself in certain situations, you put yourself there.
Mm-hmm. Mhm. Now, if you do not waste your life in search for hidden things that man can never comprehend, you may be founder of a school of thought that will assure you endless fame. So famous. So going back to the whole thing with the contracts of the offer and the acceptance, and you having a choice of higher thoughts or some type of lower, really not supposed to be there. That's really not the spot. If we're really taking this to the level of becoming the mastermind, that be a plane where you stop at. It has to be constantly evolving, constantly moving, constantly changing. We find that even when we relate that to Drew Ali and the whole thing with the active and passive, that the passive is that stagnancy that's created when there's no evolution, which is why even with our stuff that we always try to be doing stuff. So it doesn't become this stagnant thing of, it being, just the temple only, or just the nationality card only, or just I got situations, deal with those. Or it could be, relaxed. It could be fun and children running around and all that stuff being Moors too. Not just always fighting these people. And they're always on the defensive and not being able to enjoy the fruits of our labor. Right?
Go back to what I was saying, they will just leave us alone. Come stay with nature, we'll be fine. Just leave us alone.
Or is it if we didn't engage them,
Yeah.
if we saw them as where they were,
Yeah. They're our own too.
yeah.
You get overthrown.
But again, like you said too, with the whole thing with the mixture, and there's no real pure place like that
No.
anymore. So where we're at now, we have to sort of maneuver with the tainted,
What we have.
with what we have.
And it's good
You know?
to know what happened.
Yeah.
So it will help us to work with what we have.
Right.
So we could even see our brother slipping up, and we could help them because we know what causes it.
Yeah.
And he himself knows what he slipped.
Yeah. Right. So Joshua said, so after hearing the BS from the priests, the wealth, the honor, and the fame of earth are but the baubles of the hour. When this short span of earth life has been measured out, man's bursting bubbles will be buried with his bones. Yes, what man does for his selfish self will make no markings in the credit side of life. The good that man for other men shall do become a ladder strong, on which the soul may climb to wealth and power and fame of Allah's own kind that cannot pass away. Right? So that was like I was dealing with a Moor last night, and they were talking about being a Moor and the good that they do. That they don't need to be given stuff from that way, this way, for the good that they do, because they're so blessed by Allah that they don't need things from there to say, oh, here's here's the whatever for all the great work that you did. Here's the golden whatever for all the great work that you did. They don't need that. Because everything that they get, just like this is saying, once you're going for yourself, you're not going to make the markings on the credit side of life. The credit side of life is what you gain from the good stuff that you do on the earth plane, which is again why Juali made the reference point of uplifting fallen humanity being a theme with morals, so that you put out more good. So you just put out more good, because only good's gonna come from that. You know what I mean? And we're not talking about put out good and then you get taken advantage of, and then you put good out again and you get taken advantage of, and you're looking at this thing warped. We're talking about knowing that the law of averages in the spiritual sense is going to be in your favor if you do good on the earth plane, regardless what you have on the earth. However it looks that, well, I did so much good and nothing came back, still broke, still whatever, is all irrelevant. Because that's just the illusion. It's not going to come back here like that. It's really going to come back when you're one with Allah again, right? When the soul may climb to wealth and power and fame of Allah's own kind, and then that fame is not going to go away like the fame that you're going to get here. That people give up all the goods to get the fame here, and then that's it. You get it here, and that's that. There's no after this that you're gonna have the fame. Like the people, like we say, they have there was a meme with they showed the baller with all the whatever. Then they showed the guy in the gutter. And then they showed two grave pits. This is where everybody ends up. That no matter what you have, the bottom line is everybody's going to leave here and can't take none of that stuff that they claimed is the whatever to there. You can't take it with you.
One of the things that I think is the most relevant point to this is, how does our position allow us, how does our daily existence here allow us to ascend? What I think is most important, and those two pictures could be equatable too, to the guy lying in the gutter and the guy with all the money could be on the same spiritual level. But I'm looking at certain aspects of the prophet said that a beggar nation can never attain its highest level of spirituality, which says to me that until you can get to a level where you can actually be able to explore those things, you're never even going to get there. So you need to kind of get to a level where you could go and retreat to the mountains for 2 weeks. How many of us can do that? How many of us go up to the cottages every month to find Allah? Right? So that's where I think some of the...
But that goes back to the thing with because if you're looking for Allah, you'll probably find Allah sitting at the river, not having to go to the cottage or having to go to the.
You yourself just made the thing the river. There ain't no rivers here.
You shouldn't need to have to look
Outside.
outside.
Retreat anywhere.
But it has told you that sometimes you need to retreat to the mountains and to the valleys. So at least that's one of the instructions. So you can say you don't have to, but we can also say is there's some merit to it, probably, right? You don't have to do anything.
I mean, like, you don't have to do it every month.
I didn't say it's do it every month. I'm just saying how often. When was the last time you did it? Right? I mean, I asked myself that. When was the last time I did it?
I was thinking, when you do good as a person, you automatically become a magnet for abundance, as well as get your credit in the afterlife, if you will.
Yeah.
It's happens. You can't avoid that, you know? And abundance in many different ways.
Yeah.
Because everybody has a different idea of what success looks like or abundance is and what their means of living is versus another person's. But I just feel that you get your just reward while
Yeah.
you're alive.
Allah gives every man his portion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whether it's of blessings, whether it's of lessons, whatever it is, you're gonna get your thing for you to. And with that too, a lot of people might even miss when the blessings are presented to them, and they might think they're not. I'm doing all this good, not getting nothing. When well, there's 500 blessings lined up, and you missed them all.
Right. Goes back to having gratitude, reflecting on what you have,
Mhm.
being
Yeah.
thankful for the things you have.
Yeah.
You know, be thankful for the things you don't have.
Mhm.
Well, I would say this is a response that I don't know if I completely agree, because in a sense he says, man is the thought of Allah. All thoughts of Allah are infinite. They're not limited up by time. Things that are concerned with time begin and end. So we really don't have to care about anything, I guess, right? So the thoughts of Allah are the everlasting of past onto the never-ending days to come. And so man, so is man, the spirit man. But man, like every other thought of Allah, was but a seed. So a seed isn't the creation, it's the beginning. A seed that held within itself the potencies, which, as we would know, would be the fulfillment of Allah, right?
Yeah, the
Of Allah.
potential,
Just as the seed of any plant of it, so that would be any of us, hold deep within itself the attributes of every part of that special plant, that Allah plant. So spirit man, as seed of Allah, held deep within himself the attributes of every part of God. That's who we are. Now, seeds are perfect, he is perfect as the source from which they come, but they are not unfolded into life, made manifest. The child is as perfect as the mother is. So man, the seed must be deeply planted in the soil, that would be this existence here, that he might grow, unfold as the bud, as the bud unfolds. This copy's crazy. Unfold to show the flower. The human seed that came forth from the heart of Allah was foreordained to the Lord of plain. So anyways, that's the part that I'm getting to. Says here. Perfected man. Remember we were talking about perfectness before? Perfected man must pass through all the ways of life. And so a carnal nature was full manifest. A nature that sprang forth from fleshy things. We have a foe, so you have a foe. So that means, so hold on. But what does a foe really mean in its very nature? A foe, what does that mean?
Enemy.
Right? Opposite, right? So something to overcome.
Right.
So that wouldn't come by acquiescence or just sitting around and just having it given to you, right? So it didn't say you have a bridge to walk over. It didn't say someone's gonna hand you something. It says there's something here you gotta fight. Which means that you have to be, there's an activity to that. That's what I see. Anyways, that's in my opinion. A soldier never knows his strength. So now he's calling you a soldier, but you don't know what kind of soldier you are until you know the strength. And thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. So now he's told you what it is you're fighting with, and what you have to do to create that. And so this carnal nature soon became a foe. So now we know what the foe is. Carnal nature. That man must fight, that he might become the strength of Allah made manifest. So ultimately, to me, this isn't a passive thing. This is an active thing. So there has to be, and that's why I was asking the Muslims from the week before, what is this that we're here to do? What is that fight? Because like you say, if God has given us all that's where my argument comes into. If Allah is really there, then he should just give us everything we need. Anyways, that's just where I come at it from. There must be something greater to the aspect of us being gods, even gods in the flesh. There's some process here. And then to me, there's some way that that process, there's all kinds of ways that that process can be done, just like there's all kinds of ways anything can be done. But then there's the right way to do things and the wrong way to do things. There's the more efficient way. There's the ways that optimize the results of those things. And to me, that's where I then see what this sort of process is about. And I know that it doesn't seem to be in the physical, but it seems that the physical is definitely the modality that you interact with on a lot of this. Then it also speaks to me that maybe 90% of it is upstairs.
which would make it not be physical that you really get. It's really,
Well, absolutely.
really
I
a-
think I said this to you before. The physical is the interface.
yeah, it's that,
The
yeah, it's like the,
avatar,
yeah.
that is the only way that we can understand that, or is the simplest way for us to understand these things.
Yeah.
Put your hand in the fire, you get burnt.
Yeah.
That's not the real fire, that's the metaphysical fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Manifested in the physical fire.
Yeah, even though the physical, even though the physical pain is the manifest, there's a hidden lesson
Yeah.
in there. It's not about the pain that you had, broke the leg or whatever. There's something else going on there beyond the pain that you're supposed to be extracting from the experience. And most people don't want to, deal with that side of it. The side of it that, the side of it that you're gonna have to take some responsibility for some stuff, and accept certain realities. You know, like we're talking about the thing with the beggar nation can't reach the heights of spirituality.
Well, I think, and I think for us, this is at the crux of our issue.
Mhm.
This is why we're where we are particularly right now. It's that spiritual, well, I don't want to say it's spiritual, it's our ability to use our spiritual energy to create
To create the reality
the
that
reality energy that's going to then get us to that next step.
get us to that next the next place, like we say all the time with the transition from the other spot to here. That it was energy of people putting their energy towards something that created this spot. You know what I mean? So it's not like it can't happen. There's a reality about people of the same mindset putting their energy and their thoughts towards something is going to make it manifest, whatever that thing is that they're putting the attention to. And then we look at it as, now when you get to that place now where you manifested the thing, now what is it going to take to manifest the next thing that you want? Is it going to be the same people? Do they have to go recharge and you need to get some fresh energy in? Because you're looking at more now. So the energy, you can't use the same energy that you just used because it can't sustain itself like that. Whereas if we had, the more energies without having to, get that, it's just a natural occurrence. Like we were talking about this with what are people seeing the Moorish movement as and the Moorish nation as? Like, are they seeing it as a thing that they put energy into it and it's gonna grow? Or are they seeing that as a thing that, oh, there's energy there, so let me just come in and take from it?
Well, I almost wonder, this just came to me now, I wonder whether those experiences that we get for the most part are just conditioning. That's what people have been conditioned to do. They're in crisis mode. They're in post-traumatic stress disorder mode. They're coming in here looking for any kind of not handout, but any kind of up they can get. They just came from an explosion. You know what I mean? That's how I see some of it. It's not truly who they are, but it's also what they've been conditioned also to do. These so-called governments the aspect that somehow this group is gonna give you something, right? Which I think is not to say the same, but maybe some parts of it are the same. We are giving them stuff that's gonna save them. But really, to save them, they have to save themselves, which would then save us collectively. Right? They're kind of looking for something out there. Well, I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna get my nationality card, I'm gonna get off on some shit. What are you getting off on? You're getting off on some shit in some other realm that doesn't have anything to do. Remember, the card wasn't for ourself. What was it? The card's not for Kudo? The card's not for ourself. The card's not.
Said don't be flashing your card.
Huh? Don't be flashing the card in your European because what?
For your earthly salvation.
For your own self, that's right. So meaning that the card has really no value except from the has no value to anyone else except to yourself, which really means it's just an affirmation. It's letting you know that you're a more. You're not showing that anywhere to get off on anything.
Yeah.
It's just to let you say, holy shit, I
have the, yeah.
It's exactly
I have
what
the
you're
thing.
talking about, being manifested into the reality.
Yeah.
I'm an action.
Yeah, it be in the inspiration, I guess, of it being the trigger to so the reality of being a more is something that we see, you know, because we've been conditioned with licenses and birth certificates and all these other things that you have to see, you know, so you having the paperwork or whatever is a reality, but it's not the all and be all. Because the all and be all is man becoming one with the information being yours, that now you can pull it at will. That sometimes you get some people and you start building with them, you're like, shit, you know, I knew all that. Where'd that come from? I should have recorded that.
We sound like you have a lot of information.
Yeah, or you don't even know. Yeah, you don't even realize that. Oh, damn, that was just a book right there I just dropped on.
You said that
Yeah.
becomes,
We'll do our Quran reading, real Quran reading. Chapter 13. Chapter 13. Life and works of Jesus in Egypt among the Gentiles. Jesus with Elihu and Salome in Egypt tells the story of his journeys. Elihu and Salome praise Allah. Jesus goes to the temple in Heliopolis and receives as a pupil. And Jesus came to Egypt land, and all was well. He tarried a lot upon the coast. He went on at once to Zoan, home of Elihu and Salome, and who 25 years before had taught his mother in their sacred school. And there was joy when met these three. When the last son of Mary saw these sacred groves, he was a babe, and now a man grown strong by buffeting of every kind, a teacher who had stirred the multitudes in many lands. And Jesus told the aide's teacher about his life, about his journeys in foreign lands, about the meetings with masters and the kind of receptions by the multitudes. Elihu and Salome heard his story with delight. They lifted up their eyes and to heaven and said, O Father God Allah, let now thy servant go in peace, for we have seen the glory of Allah, and we have talked with him, the messenger of love, and of the covenant of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Through him shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, through him Emmanuel. And Jesus stayed in Zoan for many days, and then went forth into the city of the sun, that men call Heliopolis, and sought admission to the temple of the sacred brotherhood. The council of the brotherhood convened, and Jesus stood before the Hierophant. He answered all questions that were asked with clearness and with power. The Hierophant complained, Rabboni of the rabbinate, why come you here? Your wisdom is the wisdom of the gods. Why seek for wisdom in the halls of men? And Jesus said, in every way of life I would walk, in every hall of learning I would sit. The heights that many has gained, thee I would gain. What any man has suffered, I would meet, and I may know the griefs and disappointments and the sore temptations of my brother man, that I may know just how to succor those in need. I pray you, brothers, let me go into your dismal crypts, and I would pass the hardest of your tests. The master said, take then the vow of secret brotherhood. And Jesus took the vow of secret brotherhood. Again, the master spoke. He said, the greatest heights are gained by those who reach the greatest depths, and you shall reach the greatest depths. The guide then led the way, and in the fountain Jesus bathed. And when he had been clothed in proper garb, he stood again before the Hierophant. Right. So this is the road that everybody should be traveling. Right. And now a man, and now a Moorish American national, man, grown strong by buffeting of every kind, a teacher who had stirred the multitudes in many lands. Right, so going back to the hedges and the highways, and that we're the ones with the info, so we should be imparting it to the ignorant so that they can know something. What they do with it, that's up to them. But they can't say that Amor didn't tell them. Go ahead, Omar.
Just with stating exactly what it says, which is that the buffeting is the battles.
Yep.
That's what made him who he is.
Have to go through those.
And this is probably, let's say this right here, that probably the things that we go through here are analogous to what we're going to go through on the soul plane, and this is the practice.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the training ground. And Jesus told the aged teachers all about his life, about his journeys in foreign lands, about the meetings with the masters, and his kind receptions by the multitudes. All right, so them knowing that, them asking him when he came to the Council of Brotherhood that, why are you coming to us? You're the man. Now, what do you mean you need to know more stuff? You're the man. Say, the man? What are you talking about on the man? In every hall of learning, I'm going to sit. In every way of life, I would walk. What any man has suffered, I would meet, that I may know the griefs, the disappointments, and the sore temptations of my brother man. Right? That going into, having that ability to knowing who we are as Moors, and that we have a certain level of knowledge, knowing that it's not it would be good of us for ourselves to yield for others to get whatever they got out, because whatever we're going to say is going to be bonus to them. But this is a thing of us being the priest unto ourselves. We're also everybody else psychologists, and we're everybody else's, psychiatrists, and hearing their issues and helping them in madness that they're dealing with. That the only reason they're in the madness because they're not looking at it from the higher perspective that they should be looking at it. How many people you told them the stuff to save and they keep coming back to you with the same stuff? After you gave them the stuff that's going to save them, that's going to get them out of the exact stuff that they're going through, and they keep coming back, same stuff a year later. Like, hey, yeah, well, this guy, he's still with this dude still? All right, then you have your own lesson that you're supposed to learn. That has nothing to do with me at that point.
It reminds me of the story about this person who came to me for this. I told him, like, oh, the vaccine passport. There's a way to get around it. I told him, you year or more, and then you get the writ and send the writ off and do your thing with the writ. They wanted the vaccine passport.
Yeah.
Before the
Yeah.
They kept coming to the point, and I'm like, you know what? Just every time they come to me, have you asked the person yet? So like recently, they put up a post called cognitive dissonance. So then, like, I was, I'm like, wow, like, it's something, same thing I'm trying to show you, but get out.
Yeah.
You're posting it up, and I'm like, wow, you're actually getting it. Like, you're not asking me questions about this. And it's funny. It's just a manifestation of how it's crazy.
Yeah. You had something, Mark?
No, I was just saying that I think as Taj has mentioned, that, he gave you these things very simply because he realized probably for the most part, we're not reading, we're not really reading, we're not understanding. But what he's showing you there, if you show up, is that he's gonna go through everything you've gone through. The addictions, the not having work, the living on the streets. He's done all of that.
Yeah.
He's been in the palaces. He's been,
Yeah.
in the debauchery.
By the multitude, he's been worshipped as the
He's been everywhere to have walked that path because he is God and man and God, and then he's there to show you that there's a way out of all of it.
Yeah.
That's what it is, and it's really that simple.
It's really that simple. I think that's the bottom line. The bottom line is the simplicity of it. But
That makes it,
people are looking for
that makes it shocking for them.
yeah.
Very
It
shocking.
being so easy.
Unreal.
Can't be
Well,
can't be that easy.
I think what some of the other issues are, and this is the stuff that we've dropped too, is that this beautiful mind we have is capable of incredible things.
Mm-hmm.
They have been able to convince us, that it's a 5,000 page book, rather than really it's just one sentence
Pamphlet.
on a page.
Yeah.
You need to feel it's that book.
Yeah.
I'm saying this to Cujo before. It's like your nationality is free. No, it can't be free.
It's got to be $5 grand. Yeah.
I gotta go pay $1 million. That's
Yeah.
free.
It's not good.
Yeah, free. Yeah, it can't be free.
It's because how your brain has been conditioned through this plane to think that fiat makes something worthwhile.
To come back to what we were saying in the earlier part, when I said leave us with nature.
Well,
It's the same. You make us want to think the fear is something. It's nothing.
I agree with you, but this is what I was saying this.
We need it to, the way the system is, we have to work with it. But in your heart, you shouldn't have that. Because like you said, when we leave, we're not taking nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
But I wanted to, what Cujo and I was having this discussion earlier today, that how come these things, these aspects that we're going through, like you say, return to nature. Now I get it. There was probably a time when maybe, we were just living off of, you go kill your cow, you go do your thing, you use the fur, you do these things. Same thing with the indigenous. But then I thought to myself, from what I understand, there were times when we were traveling planets back in the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So something's up here.
Blinking and going places.
Right.
Yeah.
We're doing so. Like for
No,
example,
I'll just quickly get to the thing. I understand that, but I always sense that they've always got us going back. Well, on a certain level, they're trying to put us back into a place where we're supposedly just people sort of living off the land, while then on top of that, using scriptures and information from 200 years ago that doesn't seem, in a lot of cases, to be even relevant to where we're at right here. And the fact of the matter that there is knowledge here that comes from just, your neighbor, your grandmother, or your buddy telling you these things that is just as poignant as anything that comes from 200 years ago. Yet they've got us stuck in these doctrines that I think in a lot of cases are out of date. And the same to me, and it maybe doesn't connect completely well. The same to me, this aspect of sort of living off of the land, as if that's our only path back, right? I think we could be living in a skyscraper and still attain the same level of, still sort of go through those same steps. It just doesn't have to be in nature, as you would put it, right? Anyways,
maybe you're
Like that, sir.
misunderstanding when I speak of nature.
no, I may have misunderstood what you meant by that that reference point to nature. But I think you were saying, because you were talking about how your granny, or the granny had, or the lady hadn't gotten cancer, right? Because I guess they were living in a certain prescribed way.
Whatever you put in their mouth, that's what causes it. So they were putting different stuff in their mouth, eating different things. The chicken they used to eat, they run around and eat grass. The one we eat now, 6 weeks in a cage, it's ready to eat. I don't know how to explain it anymore.
That one can't be real.
6 weeks in a cage, it's ready to eat. And the one that I know my grandmother eat, run around. No, actually, we pick the cock. We didn't kill the hen.
Yeah, you never killed it yet.
Watch a rooster go for how many months I watch it. Wait, Sunday come. Cut your chokes. That's it. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Not changing nothing. I'm only showing the difference and how the effects from the difference.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing now on called modern technology, it's nothing. We've done this long time.
Yeah.
What I used to tell people to when they bring modern technology to me, you could talk all the modern technology you want to talk. There's a thing called pyramid, looking at that thing right there.
Mm.
How people build it. The world today don't know how it built. And you
Yeah.
say we're modern? We're modern crazy as hell.
Yeah.
We're modern. We don't know how that built. And it's how people build it. And we modern?
Yeah.
We're modern. We're lost. We're lost.
Islam. Any other thoughts?
Which man is mine, right? Yep. His mind, like, holy.
Islam. So look out for the email for next week's meeting spot for the walk. Yeah.
This one will be, well, let's just, it looks, they're colorful one like this week, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If it's
It's small, we still could take the street car.
further the good.
And take
We
some
don't
walks.
wanna,
Yeah, we had canceled the streetcar thing because of the whole thing.
Because I start to think about the whole mask thing that they would, the bullshit that they may go on. The fact that we would be then stepping into their territory to then have our, you know what I mean? There for our day, it's just gonna take some stupid nonsense to be, having some argument with some people about being on the TTC and whatever. I mean, I've always said that.
Okay, the TTC. They have a memo that they're supposed to check every day. The memo said they're not supposed to ask us about a mask. Not supposed to. Their memo. Every shift they start, you gotta check your memo. Don't ask these people about the mask.
But
Don't.
not all of them are gonna adhere to that.
Well, and
But bring them, it's like when they say, hold them on the Constitution. We'll hold them on to their.
No, and as I said, I'm absolutely not.
Right now, this morning I was coming up, I even have to say to people, what happened? All the times, I run the bus every day, bro. Every day.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing. One individual and then
No,
20
no.
or
I'm
30.
saying today when I was coming up.
Yeah.
I look on the bus. Not one more of the sign, and at the door they don't say anything. I said, driver, what happened? He don't even know. The signs on the seat, this bus is clean, nothing on it. Nothing on it. And the thing that said, wear your mask one, I don't hear it. I don't hear it.
Fair enough, but so here's what I'm saying, More, you're absolutely. What?
No, they said they were gonna come up with, canceling the mandates, or shouldn't.
Yeah, but now, supposing now, it was supposed to be in January, now they're pushing it to March, is what they're saying, and now this nonsense with this new thing, which as I said, is just a continuation of this. They're looking at sort of saying that there's gonna be numbers, supposed numbers up in the 12,000s. Right, so the deal being that none of this is going to alleviate any of this stuff. In fact, it may bring us back, but of course, I am very confused as to how all these people can be being vaccinated and this still be an issue, right? There's either two things, either everyone's not being vaccinated, one, or the vaccine's not working, two, which is one and the same then, and, or three, that this is just continuation of them sort of continuing to lock down a bit. I mean, anyways, what I've seen there is it's supposed to be cold next week. It's supposed to be -3.
Yeah.
So I know you, bro.
No, minus
Right.
3 ain't nothing though. ain't nothing.
Don't even start that.
No.
You just
I
out here 10, you just out here bombing 10 degrees out here and you were complaining.
No, it ain't 10.
It
Six,
was a
six.
balmy 10. It was
Six, six,
It was
six.
about 8 out there earlier today and you were cold, bro.
It's six.
With your big jacket on. We're gonna be like 15 degrees colder. No way, bro. I think we should, I don't know.
Yeah, so we'll send out an email. I'll let you know where the
I
meeting
still
spot.
think, we'll do it inside this year, maybe, as I said, it's warmer, but if you want, it makes for, it just gets to you.
Yeah.
An hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a high of -3.
Yeah.
You know, so,
That's a high amount. We can cook it. You got
anyways. I think we'll be leaning towards the inside walk, which will mean we'll be meeting around Union.
Yeah, we're meeting at Union
Like Royal
Union
Hotel.
Station. Yeah. We'll meet at the lobby of Royal York, and then we'll take the underground path. Yeah.
Is that a place you went before?
Yeah. Where you came after and you met us. We met you at the escalator. Yeah. So
Next time we meet at Union Station.
the Royal York Hotel across the street from Union Station.
You met us, remember, you
Just in the
you
lobby.
happened to meet us at different time, you walked up, we met you on the route.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember.
In the lobby.
I think we met him outside of Scotiabank.
Yeah. And then the meetup will probably be 11:30,
Yeah,
somewhere around there. 11:30 meetup. Yeah, 19th.
and then look out, we may be just giving one heads up for, the vernal equinox in Montreal for March. Sort of putting that into people's inbox for now and see how that,
No date here.
huh?
No date.
It'll be the 20th, the 20th is actually a Sunday.
20th of March.
20th of March, so the plan would be to be there on the mountain on the 20th of March and then just head home. You go there.
Yeah, so we might go from Friday.
Go fly,
we got
go
2
from
days.
Thursday maybe, and then be heading back on Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, we just see
Do
the
our
sunrise
New
and
Year's
then
thing, do our New
be
Year's
out.
thing, and then race home with the sun.
So we'll be leaving while the
Sun's
sun's
starting to go.
kind of going and watch,
The
ride
sun
that
will
out.
travel home.
Yeah.
Basically, is what'll happen, right?
So we'll do Sunday morning.
From the 20th to the.
No, from the probably 18th or 17th
19th is Saturday.
to the 20th.
18th is Sunday, is Friday, so the 17th to the 20th.
Islam Mars.
No.
Five on the left, 2 on the right.
Hold on.
You're getting comfy back there. You got shoes off and thing. Class is good.
Sit down.
5 on the left, 2 on the right. A lot of Father of the universe.
A lot of Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
Guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night
And by day.
and by day.
And by day.
Through a holy prophet.
Through a holy prophet.
Noble Jawali. Islam. Peace, Mars.
Block that show, right?
The two of them, yeah, they blocked them quick fast. They forgot. It's block mode, right? You know.
So we go.